Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and today I am in Brentwood, California, and I am so excited. I've been waiting to get my fellow co-author on the show, Elliot Kallen. We've done some other interviews virtual. We've done some other things, audio, video, the Zoom thing, all that. Finally, I was able to get him to come down from NorCal for an in-person interview. And today we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about his foundation. We're going to talk about our book that we co-authored today, which is called Driven: How to Elevate Your Success as an Entrepreneur, and a whole lot more. So first off, I just want to welcome my good buddy, Elliot. Welcome.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be here.
We're finally in studio together. How do you feel?
I love this. I could do this every day of the week.
I'm saying, how do I get you down here more, man? We need you.
Just pick up the phone. My wife's already told me that my ego's gotten too big to get through the front door. Got to come through the garage door.
So we're in Brentwood, a lot of different areas to eat and otherwise over here. I know you're a big wine guy. Do you have anything on the list while you're down here?
No, this is a great food area more than wine. Because I live just south of Napa and Sonoma, so I get plenty of great wine. But Southern California food, I think, is better than Northern California food.
Okay.
So I look forward to the Michelin, the upscale type of food versus the normal Italian food that you get in Northern California. Italian,
awesome.
Japanese.
Going for the Michelin. I know who's paying for lunch after. No.
It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. No. All right. So let's dive right in. For the listeners maybe that haven't caught part of the series, we've done some interviews before, but I was hoping that this could really be a touchstone and to make this an inclusive, like a solid piece that when somebody watches this, they're going to know this happened. This is why this book matters. So maybe let's just start at the beginning and the ideation of even this concept of us coming together to write a book together. Like, where do you want to start with that one?
Well, it's a great story of how you and I got together because it's almost an accident.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to write a book on motivation and success and entrepreneurship for some time. I've got 2 financial companies and a nonprofit, which do very different things and successful in their own rights.
Yeah.
But I know that entrepreneurs, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've started 5 companies now and sold 2 of them, and I'll finish selling all of them at some point. I know this is really important, and the journey of entrepreneurship is not Facebook and Amazon. It's a real high, low, up, down, bipolar journey in so many ways, and I wanted to write about it. And I think you interviewed me. Somebody brought you to me to do something, and these outside services that put podcasters together. And we just had this great conversation. We found out that you like to do this too. And you felt that you had a really good story to tell, which is very different than my story. And I had a really good story to tell, different than yours. And together there would be a great story. And it's proven because Driven by Adam Torres and Elliot Kallen has been on the Amazon best-selling list for over a year now. And so people want to read it. And the more people I share it with, the more they share it with their friends. So it's a good story. I
gotta like zig and zag. You already know my interview style. Podcasting, that is how we met, and I'm a big fan of podcasting, the podcaster community in general. Quick plug for your show. Tell a little bit about it before we move on, but I got to bring out a podcast. You can't mention it and me not plug a podcast.
Oh, it's great. Thank you. It's called Meet the Expert with Elliot Kallen. We have about 120 or so episodes in the can on the website, Prosperity Financial Group. It's where I interview business owners, much like what you do, or we interview people within the industry, and we really find out what's cooking, what's ticking, what's important. It could be about electric car industry. It could be about money. It could be about lifestyle. It could be about somebody's really built something amazing in New York City or LA, greater LA. We want to bring success stories there, but we want people to grab onto this 22, 24, 27 minutes. I just had Brandon Steiner on. He owned the New York Yankees trademark and pictures and jerseys for 30 years. I brought him on. Fascinating guy. Who gets to talk to this guy on a regular basis? Those are the kind of people we have on.
Amazing. All right, let's circle back to the book, but I'm sure the podcast is going to come back up because I'm a huge podcast fan. So getting back to just the I guess we'll say the core of the book. And I remember when we were first coming up with the idea and I thought about it and I'm like, does this kind of makes sense for 2 people coming from 2 different angles that have both mission-based, same, hopefully core values, ideologies, but, there's different ways to get something done. And so for everybody that has not read the book yet, which we're going to definitely leave a link. We want everybody to buy a copy, of course. We sell books. But we came across, and I labeled myself the accidental entrepreneur, and then Elliot was the serial entrepreneur. And there's a whole chapter, and there's a bunch of anecdotes and stories in the book, of course, about it. But I'm going to start with me on this one because I'm hoping to pull out that serial entrepreneur. But myself and Elliot, when we get talking, we're not necessarily agreeing always on how to get something done. And because I'm coming from the accidental side of things. Like, I never thought about really creating a business. Like, it kind of happened. I found myself starting a business by almost accident, hence accidental entrepreneur. And then when I looked at Elliot's background, and I'm like, wait, he's had multiple businesses. Like, this is in his blood. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You take it from there, but were you employable? I don't know. Like, you're like, no, I don't know if you're employable anymore. You're an entrepreneur. Go ahead.
I'm probably not very employable. I can agree on that. Well, I started off in the accounting field, and it turned out that was probably the wrong direction to go in. And my father was a small business entrepreneur, never made a lot of money, probably peaked at $40,000 a year. But he used to tell the story that you need to be in your own business. You need to be in charge of your life in some form, however way you do that. So you're right, it was in my blood. And I left accounting and I started a packaging business. And I built it up, and it was a 7-day-a-week job. And we hit about $5 million in sales, and it was a time to sell it, and I did. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons here about what goes right and what doesn't go right. And then started an environmental cleanup business, got ourselves about 1,000 distributors across the country for environmental products and services, and then sold that one as well, and learned a lot. And then realized I wanted to get back into financial business, which is what I'm into today, with 2 different companies, totaling about $1 billion in assets. It is in my blood. I love the shiny toy of starting something from scratch. I've already got the next business in mind.
Do you? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And
it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't know.
Yeah. So when I make the next move, whatever that next move is, I'm too young to call it a day, and I don't have a health issue. I don't have a money issue. But I love the idea of starting something and building something from scratch and then selling it. I think that's a great thing. That's my goal. I like doing that. Too many people I've met have been disappointed with their journey, Adam. And they think I'm going to be like Mark Zuckerberg. I'm going to start something in college, and in 5 years from now, I'm going to be a billionaire. And you and I both know.
Doesn't work like that, you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm 9 years in. What are you talking about, like?
The expectations have become so unrealistic for entrepreneurs. It's a journey, and it's a complicated, difficult, sometimes life-changing journey, with your marriage changing, your relationship with your children changing, your family dynamics changing, because you have to put enormous hours and effort into moving that ship and righting that ship when it gets wrong. And that's the story I wanted to tell.
Yeah, and mine being a slightly different, actually opposite side of it. When you talk about starting a business and then selling it and then starting another one or anything like that, terrifies me, Elliot. I'm like, if I did it, I can barely do this business. If I sell this, and then what? I don't even know, and I'm not even saying I do this well, but terrifies me. What would you say to those, let's say, other would-be serial entrepreneurs from your standpoint? And then I'm going to tackle the question from my side for the accidental entrepreneurs. Okay. But for your side, what would you say to the serial entrepreneurs out there that you'd want them to take away from the book and also just your lessons?
I want them to know that, and they already know this, that your business is filled with challenges, cash flow, employee issues, lawsuit issues, receivable issues, location issues, growth issues. They're filled with those challenges, and so is everybody else's. It's not that unique of a story. You're unique. I'm unique. The entrepreneur is unique, but the stories are not that unique. And if you're a banker, you would say, I hear these stories 100 times a day. I get it. And so I want them to know it's okay. It's okay sometimes to get your nose bloodied, to fall down, like the Rocky Balboa thing. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. That's what I want entrepreneurs knowing, that it's a long journey. I feel like I've become very successful in the later part of my life, although I would not call this very late. But in the early part of my life, I wouldn't even have known what success is. I couldn't have defined it. For me, success was going to an Anthony Robbins meeting and walking on 40 feet or 80 feet of hot coals. but I wouldn't have understood that in business. Today, I get it. So some of that is maturity, some of that is experience, and every entrepreneur has to learn that the easy way or the hard way, but they have to learn that.
Yeah. So I'm going to tackle that same question for our audience, but from the accidental entrepreneur side of things. And my number one thing that if I could go back in time and do it again, and I did this, but I didn't do it intentionally, and I didn't even know it was being done actually, is I would get around more serial entrepreneurs. Like that's my number one thing I would have done. Like I didn't, that first
Adam,
couple of years,
that's great advice.
That first couple of years, like I have my buddies that one of them, Dan Bienenfeld, like he was my client a long time ago. And when I was in the money management many years ago, and he's a serial entrepreneur. That's all he's ever done his whole life. And he would tell me these things but he knows, I was a little younger. He knows how to feed me the information to like how much I can have. He can tell when it's not seeping in anymore. Then he doesn't waste his breath. Smart serial entrepreneur, right? But then through the years, we'll have these meetings and he'll ask me, where's my benchmark or this or that. And he'd be like, Adam, is this a hobby or is this a business? Like, and I'd be like, what do you mean? Like he would push me and my skills year by year to make sure that I was making whatever type of success or traction I could for whatever I was ready for or able to do, and to force me to like really stretch. So that's what I think for the accidental entrepreneurs, the ones that, again, don't find themselves like even necessarily wanting a business or knowing they'd have a business. Heck, if I look back, if some producer would have been like, hey, want to come be a host of my show? You think I would have spent all this time doing 6,000 plus interviews? Probably not. I would have been an employee. I was fine as an employee and I had no problem with it. So again, long story short, get somebody like Elliot around you who can't help but start new businesses and new ventures, and maybe some of their pain you can learn from. And that's part of what the book is. I feel like part of what we created was exposing our pain so others can learn from it. Would you
Absolutely.
Would you reposition that otherwise?
No, there's a lot of truth to that. If you're a student of history, and I think of myself as a student of history, when Franklin Roosevelt became president, and you could argue that he was a good president, a great president, or a lousy president, that's not the point. He created the first brain trust for the White House. And I remember hearing that and thinking, in business, you want to create a brain trust because you don't have all the answers and you don't have a lot of answers. What you have is a vision. And sometimes even that vision needs some honing and fine tuning and correction. But if you're surrounded with successful people, they're going to want to see you succeed instead of sometimes your own family members want you to give it up and go get a job.
I want to switch it up a bit. So part of what we do, and I could have said this in the opening, but part of this book is really to support as well a Brighter Day Foundation. So how do you want to tee that part of the discussion up? I definitely want to make sure we spend some time talking about the organization as a whole.
Sure. So the background of the organization is 11 years ago, my 19-year-old son at the University of Montana walked up to the highway and jumped in front of an oncoming truck and took his life. His parents didn't know about it. They didn't understand it. He was gone for 24 hours before we even found out. And it was horrible. It's life-changing. Anybody's ever lost a child, we know it's a life-changing hole in your heart. On the way back from Montana, I turned to Jake's mom and I said, we have to do something to change people's lives. We cannot have other people go through what we're about to experience. We can't. And I came up with the idea of a Brighter Day charity at abrighterday.info. And that charity's mission would be to create resources for teens and their families with the goal of stopping teen suicide. And it's been that from the very beginning. And so we go around talking about this. It's a painful story because I have to talk about it over and over because that story is the motivation behind the charity. And of course, every time you do that, you're ripping a scab off your heart. But it's the right thing to do. I don't want families to experience their child coming close to death or creating this level of pain that we went through and continue to see over and over, but it's the right thing to do.
And to date, I mean, just some of the numbers and people that you've helped, I mean, between the line that people can contact, the resources, maybe give a little bit of that piece of it because it's quite significant. And I marvel at because having run yourself, multiple businesses, all the stuff you have going on, you put a lot of resources, not just effort and money, but your time into it. And I see it. And I'm on your newsletter, been on the newsletter. You probably don't know that, but I've been on the newsletter and I open every single one. And I'm like, man, I got to make it to one of those car shows. I got to make it to one of those. I'm like, I got to get a classic car to have a reason to drive out there because I want to be at the car show, man.
Well, it's an exotic car. You don't need a classic car. Exotic.
Oh, an exotic.
Lamborghini, Ferraris, Porsche.
Then I can just borrow one of your Lambos. It's okay.
I'll give you the date. We'll make it happen.
I'm in. But talk a little bit about the numbers.
So we are touching between 3,000 and 6,000 families every single month with some of our resources. We've got a very robust website, which is really handled by two very competent people for the organization. They do a great job with it, and that's got resources mostly written for parents, like hundreds and hundreds of pages. But teenagers aren't great readers. They're texting people. So we created a texting crisis hotline where they could talk for 45 minutes all day, hang up, do it again, hang up and do it again, to somebody at the end of a line in all 50 states 24/7. And within 5 minutes, Adam, they all ask the same question. Am I the only one feeling this way? They're totally isolated now as teens. If that doesn't work, because some teens need to be in front of a counselor, in LA, for you to get your teen who's maybe cutting himself or herself, a private counseling session in Bel Air could take 6 to 10 weeks to get the appointment, which if you're a parent, you know if your child's hurting themselves or talking about it, that's forever. So we created, again, with a partnership, that we can get that person help within 7 days on a for-pay help, but here's what we do about it. It's for-pay help via Zoom with a licensed therapist, but we will pick up the first 90 days of all cost.
Wow.
Because we've been told through studies that most teens are over their crisis within 90 days, and we want to get over that. They can continue it, but we pay for that for the first 90 days. And then we threw in college scholarships, and we threw in other ways of getting the teenager help and music programs and all types of programs that we do with the goal of getting your teen some good advice so they can they can help themselves, or getting the parent some advice, because we write a lot for the parent of what they can be doing to help the situation. The littlest thing, like turn all cell phones off at dinner. Every dinner should be cell phone free.
Is that a tip? I think you do
It is a
packets
tip.
and stuff, right? There's like packets for schools and like go into that because that's an
Almost
interesting.
every article we put out every other week includes turn your cell phone off at dinner. Don't call grandma. Don't call your older brother or oldest daughter at school during dinner. Turn them off. Put them in a basket. Do that. Get in the car. Don't turn the radio on. Turn off your cell phones. Take a walk every week with a teen. 30-minute walk with your teen. No radios, no cell phones, because we're all programmed to talk during silence. It's what we do. And so we put out all types of tips like this, which you would think, well, that's common sense, of course. It's not so common.
No, it's not. It's not. That you need those reminders. And what if you didn't grow up in a home where that was common, where people ate or like had that conversation? So it's not common if you didn't learn it, right?
Well, I grew up in a home. My dad was an interested father, but he worked 70 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly. That's
my mom was the breadwinner, but she got sick when I was in high school. So she was kind of out of my life in high school. So my dad was there, small business owner. He would come home and he said, how's school? And I would answer like a caveman. It's fine. It's okay. How'd you do on your math test? Good. Monosyllabic answers. My 31-year-old son with 2 PhDs still answers me monosyllabically.
You told me that.
And so he wasn't getting any smarter. But most parents, and I was guilty of that, they would just ask superficially or at a 40,000 foot level, how'd it go today? But they're not asking the important stuff. Like, how did it go with Mary today, your best friend? Who's your favorite teacher? Why? Who's your least favorite teacher? Why? Who's your favorite class and why? Which class is the biggest struggle for you and why? Are you going to class or are you sitting outside because you don't like it? Things like that. We give you questions as a parent to ask, and you have to have time to ask that. Nothing's going to make up for the time between you and your teen where you don't accept the answer of a caveman or cavewoman. You really want to dig into it because you care, and you can create a non-judgmental atmosphere that eventually your child will answer you honestly, or at least talk about their friends honestly, because they know they're not going to get in trouble for doing it. That's a hard thing to do because you and I, especially as men, have been trained to fix things right away. Does your leg hurt? Great, let's go to the doctor. We just say we got a cast on that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that. You want to just let your teen talk and espouse their point of view, even if you don't like it. Give them that opportunity.
And some of the things, one of the things you mentioned is the programming. And I know the programming is slightly different than some of the other things you've done, like even some of the little things intentionally, either whether it was through music or other things, because ultimately if one of the teens were having a problem or something was wrong, like they're not going to just want to go up in front of their friends and, be like, oh, let me go to this rally about teen suicide or about
Yeah,
this.
they're not at all
Like,
going to do that.
yeah, that's not going to happen, right? So talk a little bit about that, because I think it's also helpful in learning how other organizations out there and other people can learn from what you've managed to do and how they can also reach that teen population.
That's a great question. You have to have a program director or this doesn't work. You can't do it unless you're the program director. So we have a program director, and she has put us in front of leadership classes throughout multiple schools here in Northern California. Because our texting hotline and our Facebook and our Instagram work nationally. That's how we get people from all 50 states and 4 or 5 countries to go and use texting hotline or help or get help, or they're doing that now. But you want to get directly into the school. Some schools are really open to it. They're like, come on in.
Yeah.
Some schools run away from suicide conversation. They want nothing to do with it. Kind of like when I was a kid, nothing's changed in some of those schools. We want to help them. And so she does that. She gets programs going. She gets health fairs going where we can be there. And that's exposure to the teen that we can say, here, in your own free time, call this number, 800 number, or text the word brighter, BRIGHTER, to 741-741. In 5 minutes, you can text to your heart's delight and get every question answered. We want them to take advantage of these. We implore them to take advantage of them. You have to reach them on their level, whatever that level is. It's never going to come through the counseling department or the principal, but you need the tacit approval of those people to be able to reach your teens.
So one of the things that I'm super passionate about is I want other people to share their stories. I want them to create books. I want them to launch podcasts, whatever it is, blogs, whatever their way and use of expressing themselves creatively is, because I feel like everybody's voice deserves to be heard. Some people are gonna like my voice, and some people are gonna be like, that guy wears a tie, I don't like him, whatever. Some people are gonna like what you're saying, but it's something different about voice and just that human connection of sharing stories. I'm curious about yourself, and I've never asked you this question. So whether it's through Brighter Day, your business, other things, like what drives you to share your story? Like what gets you to, because it's not easy, and I've seen you've done it consistently over many years, and it's not always for a business reason. Like what drives you to do that?
It's a great story. It's a super sad story. It doesn't have a happy ending at all. But the charity is changing lives.
Yeah.
And I have letters from parents and a couple from teens that said, thank you for saving my teen's life. Thank you for getting my teen into this behavioral health situation, because we help out with personal recommendations as well. Anywhere in the country, we can probably find a place to put them somewhere if they need that kind of help. You're changing lives. So what I do of helping people with a better retirement with money or give it to the next generation is fabulous. But that's not the same thing as changing behavior that gives you a healthy life. It just isn't. It's still very good, but it isn't that. And so I wake up every day thinking, if we can just save a life or two, even this week, that's the difference of what you want to do. And so I'm motivated by changing lives and potentially saving lives. And I love that. It feels good to do that, but I know we're doing it. So that's, yes, what motivates me in the morning when I get up is to make a difference, is to be better today than yesterday and better tomorrow than today. Whether it's in business or in charity, that's that little voice on my right shoulder, comes from my mother who was an Auschwitz survivor, that says you could do better today than you did yesterday, and you could do better tomorrow than today. And the other voice, Dad's voice, that says nothing replaces hard work. Put those two things together, I'm okay working 5.5, 6.5 days a week. I enjoy it. I love it. It doesn't feel like work at all.
And so you have the two different sides. I like that, the two different voices. And I'm thinking, when you're saying that, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what for me? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Like one of them is like, I got to do it. And I feel like both voices help you depending on what side of the bed you're waking up on that particular day, right?
Well,
like, sometimes, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get out there and do a show. Like, it's hard to do that consistently. You've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I think there's a level of discomfort, of dysfunctionality, of schizophrenia. But
we're not talking about that part of it, is it?
The downside of hard work, here's the downside of those two things that I just gave you. The downside of hard work is my dad had 3 children, all 3 of them were workaholics. And for my mother's advice, it's the constant drive to do better. So status quo is never an acceptable place for me to be. And that's not a healthy thing either. But I like the drive. I'd rather be like that than sit back and be comfortable and said, okay. I'm never going to be okay. That's why I'm thinking of the next venture and the next venture and the next venture to change lives and make a difference.
Man, well, I'm gonna keep watching you because I don't have many more ventures than me. So if everybody's watching this, leave me alone.
Oh, we might have to drag you into better
No,
success.
no,
and
no.
bigger success.
I'll just ask some questions. It's fine on your next venture.
Okay.
So as we wrap it up, Elliot, final question on my end. What do you hope as people read this book, as they go deeper into the foundation, as they learn more about you and your story? What do you hope, whether it's a thing or themes that you hope that people will get from listening and tuning into what you do?
I'm hoping that if I were to pick a couple of themes from that book, Driven, it would be tenacity. It means the never give up, keep fighting, keep chipping away at the stone while you're making, a marble granite of David.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, keep doing it and wake up tomorrow and do it again. Because sometimes a statue looks like a rock in the beginning, and your business doesn't have a lot of form or function, but it begins to get that form and function, and that understand that there are probably 3 phases to your business life. And they're not all the same. It's the startup phase, which is most challenging, where you're working all the time to get very little, kind of like getting in a rowboat and trying to get it going up to full speed. And then the second one feels really good because, wow, I'm buying companies or I'm creating something. I've got cash flow. I'm sending my kids to college. And the third one is, now what am I going to do about it? Do I give it to my kids? That's probably not a good idea. Do I sell it? What's my cash out? And how do I go through life that this was worthy of my effort and I can enjoy the next chapter, the very big chapter that says, this is good and this has been a good journey. That's what I hope they get out of it.
Elliot, how do people get involved with the foundation, and how do they connect, and how do they learn more?
Great. Best way to do it is the website, abrighterday.info. My email address is Elliot, ELLIOT, at abrighterday.info. And my cell, which I give out randomly, and as long as I'm on the West Coast, don't call me 3 a.m, but it's 510-206-1103. Reach out, touch us, let us touch you.
Perfect. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links and all that good stuff in the show notes, so you can just click on them and head right on over. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Elliot, man, pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show again.
Thanks, Adam. This has been great. Much appreciated.